last years of the 19th century that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even considered the possibility of life on other planets. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this Earth with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, they drew their plans against us.
Broadcasting live
from a tiny studio somewhere in North America.
This is Dark Matters Radio Live. And now I give you your host,
the silverback of ufology.
Here's Don Ecker.
And welcome back to a brand new edition of Dark Matters Radio. Hey, we're just putting Thanksgiving in the rearview mirror. Good golly, Miss Molly, it's going to be Christmas in under 4 weeks, which kind of freaks me out. But hey, I guess it's something we got to deal with every year. And tonight, it may seem just a tad light in studio, but early this morning, I had sent a text note to Mark's center to find out if everything is up and going. Well, Mark's wife, for the last week or so, has been dealing with some kind of cold virus. He had dodged it, but he said yesterday it got him dead in sights, and he's dealing with that now. So, of course, hey, you know, if you're sick, by God, you're sick. That's the way it is. But tonight's show is going to be very good. Normally, I would tell you that Gary Cassell is in studio with me. But right up at the advent of the show, he was nowhere to be found. So it looks like it's going to be just me and my guest. And my guest tonight, one of my, I might add, my favorite guest, Commander Cobra, is making a return engagement. And Chanel, if you bring Commander on, that would be ideal. There he is. Commander Cobra, welcome back to another episode of Dark Matters Radio. How in the heck are you doing?
As always, Decker, it is a privilege to join you on the show and share me with your great audience. Things are well. It was a good Thanksgiving. Excellent.
That is excellent. I was just telling Chanel, she asked how my Thanksgiving was, and I said, well, it was just basically Vicky and I and the dogs, and we had a very nice, very quiet Thanksgiving. As a matter of fact, just even as I'm speaking, she's coming back into the house. She had to go out and spend a little money today. Oh, and I just found out there's a beautiful praying mantis on the side of our wall.
Excellent.
Well, honey, that's good.
Good luck.
Yes, that's good. Well, Commander Cobra, since you and I have last really spoken to each other, we were both on UAP Crossfire on Thanksgiving Day, but that was pre-recorded. So that was a week or so before. Have you been keeping an eyeball on what's happening recently in the wonderful, wacky world of UFO UAPs?
I have, Don, and an interesting thing that has been crossing my mind, as reptilian as it is, and you know my mind has that fairly good singularity at times. I noticed that there seems to be another fissure that's developing in the governmental world of people that are walking out the door saying information's being withheld, and the perennial or seasonal, if you're really, really good, maybe Santa Claus will bring you some disclosure. That seems to be making the rounds, decking the halls, so to speak. And I want very much for the honesty and the truth to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. You know my stance on this. And I also think that now it may be being played a great deal as just another one of the many cornucopia of delights. You like all these allusions that I'm putting to the holiday season in here? The things that I'm throwing in?
Yes, I am. I call it a dog and pony sex show, but that's me. Okay.
Well, we're not going across the border to Tijuana, so there'll be none of that. But I am convinced that a lot of this is just the continued diversionary misinformation, disinformation that we're facing. I don't understand.
I don't want to sound self-serving, Commander.
Right.
But read my paper.
Absolutely. No, that was my last point I was going to make. This lines up with your paper. And I think that your stance and mine are, if not right in alignment, very, very close.
Simpatico. They are simpatico. Look, the bottom line is something was discovered, I think, 80 plus years ago with the powers that were then.
Right.
And within a very short time, a month and a half, 2 months, 3 major things happened that happened quickly without precedent. Number one, the Air Force became the Air Force. They broke away from the United States Army, became
right.
their own service entity. The second thing that happened, suddenly, out of the blue, from World War II, because they weren't there then, the Central Intelligence Agency came into existence, our very own spy masters. And then the big one happened. The National Security Act was signed into law, which gives the powers that be carte blanche to do any damn thing they deem necessary under the guise of national security. Hey, Commander Cobra, the freaking Republic went out the window on that day.
Sure. No doubt. No disagreement. And we've repeated that series of actions with a greater expanse in time with the Patriot Act. And we've talked about that in the past and our distaste of that. And then the creation of the Space Force, which I think is doing, on the face of it, doing some really important, great work in national security and defense. But with every creation of a new agency, with a new act, comes the ever-expanding tentacles that go in that continue to separate us from any kind of truth.
Well, it's a cornucopia of bad mojo for sure. Now, this week on Crossfire, on UAP Crossfire, which, ladies and gentlemen, is KGRAdb's new show that just premiered several weeks ago. It's on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And in studio is Commander Cobra, Mr. Chris DePerno from iDetective, Mr. Martin Willis, and myself. And we basically take a look at what's going on and kick it around the room. Now, this week, I think one of the things we're going to be hitting, Commander, is the fact that there is a bill floating around being led out by, among others, Senator Charles Schumer, that is taking a look at basically canceling, and I'm just going to put it in real easy terms, this business about a lot of disclosure. And why would they be doing that? Well, this is my idea. Now, I invite you to jump in and tear me up if you wish. But corporations like Lockheed Martin, if we have recovered extraterrestrial technology, that's where it's sitting at. and they're working on it. And they want all the financial benefits that could flow from cracking that technology that they could put under their copyright, under their what the hell do you call it? Trademark, sure. And the bottom line is they will do that by feeding tons and tons of money to people like Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, and a myriad of other lawmakers, okay? I mean, how else did, for example, President Barack Obama go from under $1 million when he took office and he left office a multi-millionaire buying property up in, well, you know the story. Let me do a Joe Biden. You know the thing, man, the thing. So, hey, that's the way it is. And anybody that truly thinks, and I felt bad for years for people like Stephen Greer, Stephen Greer, Stephen Bassett, these guys appear to truly believe that disclosure is just on the event horizon. I'm sorry, kids, never, ever, ever going to happen, because if it were in the cards, now I'm just on a rant, Commander Cobra.
I didn't notice, but keep going.
Yeah, so forgive me.
The phanometer is showing really high positive, though. It's ticking over. The phanometer is high.
The bottom line is, if the extraterrestrials had any interest at all in becoming open and above ground, they would have done it long ago. If they had hostile intentions, they would have carried those out long years ago. And obviously none of that has happened on the surface. So what do you think?
Well, as always, Decker, you give me a multifaceted jewel. So let me try to move it around in my fingertips here and give you a quick couple reactions. First, the only time disclosure is going to occur is that when the giving of information will serve a purpose for people that are in control to maintain their control or expand their control. So you're going to disclose information only when it's going to be beneficial for them to continue the kind of departure from the Republic, as you said earlier, and how we're going forward. So that's part of it. The other part, I agree with you wholeheartedly that there is likely, if what we believe, that there has been encounters and there is technology in the offering, that it, like all the activities that we involve ourselves in, those that are making and producing goods, services, capability want to maintain their edge. That's why we have trademarks. That's why we have patents. That's why we do the things that we do. That's not a bad thing. It becomes a bad thing when you will, unfairly or unlawfully prevent competition from having an opportunity because you don't care about the capitalistic system. What we do is not really capitalism these days. It's a crony capitalism is a term that's used. It's bastardized because we are picking winners and losers, and anyone that looks like it could possibly cause damage to the status quo of those that are controlling things tend to get knocked out of play. That's gone on for a long time. So disinformation is a way of keeping control. Disclosure is only going to happen when it serves a purpose to provide people either cover or some means to maintain control. What we have seen dribbled out, the parts that came out, the things that have been affirmed to, I think were useful. But I've said this from the beginning with you, Don. I don't need the government to tell me what I know or what I believe is true. If it was, I can't imagine how sad a situation that is if that was really how I was. What is more frustrating to me now is when you have people that have been, for lack of a better term, destroyed or really maligned publicly for things that were said 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and they now are somewhat been bona fide, that the beliefs and things that they said that were involved. The other part is this. The whole UFO experience, UAP experience, has been a useful tool for covering things that had nothing to do with it. And that has become a pile of lies. We're so deep in lies and falsehoods because for national security, you can convince yourself that anything is the right thing to do and bad decisions are made. As I've told you and everyone else that we've had on shows currently and shows in the past, I'll never disclose things that would ever endanger people or things that I'm not allowed to talk about. I can honestly say that I have never been exposed to any kind of secrets about alien technology. I suspect that it's there. I suspect that some of the leaps that we've made in technology has come out. And I've seen how we do like to, to crowd certain industries and certain companies into these mega situations that push what we believe we need next to thwart. Now, the hard part, and I have to throw this aside because it's you and I talking, it's the other activities around this that make me go, huh. And what I mean by the huh is we deplete all our oil in the face of mounting worldwide tension, and our strategic reserve, the thing that we need as a deterrent, as a thing that allows us to project power, isn't there. We have possibilities of breakthrough technology, and I believe that we are holding back on some of that breakout technology. The other part is this, and I'm throwing this back to you as a question. Did we make a deal with alien visitors? Do we have that deal still in place? Have we made a deal that says that what keeps them from invading, or this is what we're going to get? I think there's some room for interesting discussion there.
Well, before we even go there, I've just been notified that KGRAdb finally showed up. Let us bring him on.
Hey guys.
So nice you could make it on time, KGRAdb.
I had a diabetic episode and I apologize.
Oh, wow. You all right?
It's so rare when it happens, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It basically knocks me unconscious until my sugar drops low enough, then I wake up. It's like a diabetic coma, but it's not as dangerous.
God. And I was going to make this thing that you made an entrance like Little Richard, but I'm taking that away now.
I love that you're taking Tom Cruise's place right now.
Thank you.
Well, what you said, Commander. Okay, look. Did we make a deal with them at some point? Well, only God and whatever president was in office at the time would know. It often is suggested it goes back to Dwight Eisenhower. Right. Out here, actually, in California, in sunny California, at Edwards Air Force Base, he is alleged to have had face-to-face meetings with extraterrestrial representatives. I don't know. It's like everything else in this field. It goes up, it goes down, and this, of course, is all part of the powers that be to keep the pot stirred and mixed, and nobody knows quite actually what's up or down. But let me veer off the main highway for a second and go down a country road. Now, this is something I wanted to hit you with tonight. And this, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with it, it's going to sound like something out of a sci-fi movie. But I've always been somewhat eclectic in my approach to this, Commander.
I did notice, Don. Thank you for clearing that up, because I thought you were pretty much, a straight arrow. Jerry, would you like to weigh in on that? Don, eclectic? Would you have ever said eclectic?
I would have said eclair.
Eclair. There you go.
Because he's a delicious pastry with cream filling.
A soft center is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, you brought us together, and I've done a couple shows with Jerry. So this is. You wanted to split the atom? Okay, you try to put it back together again now.
Now, my, and I've said this many, many times. You guys both know this, but my genuine love from my academic career was history. And the weirder the history, the better. Now, I'm sure you're both very aware of one of the apocryphal books taken out of the Bible, the Book of Enoch.
Right.
The Book of Enoch, and there's a point to this, okay? I'm going to tell you up front, because if I wonder a little bit, you're going to be saying to yourself, where the hell's he headed?
Oh, no.
There's a point to it.
I like your Old Testament, Doc.
Okay. The Book of Enoch has some very, very strange things that are described in it. And part of the deal were the arrival of angelic beings, angels, if you will, okay, that were, well, shall we say, they were suggested to leave heaven for whatever reason, okay? And they came down here and they discovered human females. They liked those girls, okay? And according to the book, they took many wives, concubines, mistresses, whatever, and they were able to produce progeny from these women. And they were called the Nephilim, or those men of renown. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, if you're familiar with the work of Zecharia Sitchin,
correct,
and I am very aware. I knew Zecharia. We spent many a night talking deep into the hours about many of his theories. I still could never get him to give me a time frame when his planet Nibiru was supposed to make the return appearance. But, okay, failing that, these Anunnaki, which actually from Sumerian meant those who from heaven to earth came, were suggested to be extremely large beings, 12, 14, 15 feet tall. Now, these Nephilim were described in the same way. And according to the legends, the myths, whatever, these Nephilim were also bad Jose's. And that was one of the reasons that the gods, plural, created the flood to basically wipe them out and wipe out humanity, because humanity was becoming a pure pain in the tuchus, okay? Now, obviously there was a flood. We think we know how it happened. We think it was because of an astronomical impact, but regardless, there was a flood. It caused the oceans to rise. Millions and millions of people probably died. major swaths of the animal kingdom were wiped out. And now here we are today. Well, with that being said, there have always been legends and rumors, and especially in the United States, tales of large, actually gigantic, hairy hominid beings running around, usually in the remote forest and mountains and what have you. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you
And
want
me
to
at
call it.
night.
When you're taking your meds properly,
Yes, only then. Only then.
or not.
In 2002, Commander Cobra, a very odd story emanated out of Afghanistan.
Correct.
Now, collectively today, it's known as the Giant of Kandahar. Are you familiar with that?
Yep. We've talked a little bit about it, and I've read a little bit about it. I find the lack of any real depth of information on this an interesting sideline to it. Adds a lot of interest to me.
Well, okay, for those that are not familiar with it, this is basically the story. The story is after armed forces of the United States of America went into Afghanistan, purportedly to hunt down, among others, Osama bin Laden, we encountered the Taliban, those guys that are still in charge of Afghanistan today. Many, 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 many fights with the Taliban. A lot of people were killed on both sides. But in 2002, in the province of Kandahar, there was an infantry unit that was sent in there to do a little sneaky Pete snooping and pooping to find out if there were any bad guys up there. And suddenly, not even a tick call, they went boom, black, nothing. No communication, no signals, nothing. Command got a little concerned. They tried to contact them, no luck. Well, they ended up sending in a special forces detachment. This is the story. They get up into the hills. They're walking up there. They're on constant 100% alert. They get up to a level plateau. They notice that there are caves back in the side of the mountain. The scout goes up very carefully, looking into the cave. Suddenly, a gigantic stone-tipped spear comes streaking out of one of these caves, impales the scout, damn near cuts him in two. He's dead. Everybody is shocked. And when I say a big spear, I'm talking big, all right? Then this creature, this hominid that was described as being maybe 15 feet tall, with flaming red hair, 6 fingers on each hand, well, a thumb and 5 fingers, total of 6 toes, and somebody opens up on them. They all open up on them, and within a 30 seconds, half a minute, this thing is laying there dead. Purportedly weighed 1,100 pounds. Now, I read that when I first read that, and I'm thinking to myself, whoa, can this be real?
Sure.
What do you think, Commander?
Well, I've seen the denouncement of it as a hoax. I watched the YouTube video a while back. Doesn't really completely satisfy me that it's accurate. Was there an encounter? Are we looking at something that falls into the Bigfoot category? From the descriptions, the way they talk, this looks just like a gigantic human to me. And as you describe some of the possible factors, is it possible? I think some of the craziest revelations occurred during war, personally as well as culturally. I think that is a really good incubator for it. You wouldn't be in certain places unless you were in a conflict. The possibility that this occurred, the possibility that it was dampened down and controlled, very, very possible in my mind. I haven't seen or heard enough about it because nothing previous to this, but that's not unusual for this part of the world. I mean, this is not a part of the world that reveals its secrets easily. It's not in line with a lot of modern lines of communication at all. Very tribal. So I can imagine in a fairly inhospitable environment that this entity, I don't like to use the word creature, but this entity could be easily living and surviving. The part I don't understand is how it survives given the situation. That, there doesn't seem to be ample materials there to support.
Well, if you believe the story, okay, the information, this thing and others like it, there was a suggestion that this hominid may have had a female with him, may have had offspring, but the one thing that everybody seemed to agree on, there were myriads and myriads of bones of all types, animal bones, human bones, that this thing cannibalized those troops. Now, if that's the case, okay, that's a whole different ball of wax. But this was something. It really piqued my curiosity to the nth degree. I got to tell you. But ultimately, if you believe a lot of this stuff, like the Book of Enoch, this would seem to emanate from on up and above, Commander.
Sure.
Gary.
I got to tell you, it's so crazy. And it reminds me oddly of that episode Galileo 7 from Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's, look, I'm a believer. And this fits right into that category of too weird to be fake.
Well, if you're in a situation where one of your teammates is killed, okay, are you going to lie about it? Are you going to make up a big story about it?
No.
I mean, what's that doing to the memory of your teammate?
Plus, the kind of unit that you indicated, Don, doesn't give me the kind of thought process. It seemed to be, I would think, a very closely knit unit for the type of work that they were doing. This would be a hodgepodge.
Right.
But now let me ask some of the questions from the other side. Do we know what happened to the body and what was discovered?
Well, they claim a Chinook came in. They had to roll it up in a net. It took the whole damn team to get this thing in the net. They hooked it up. They flew it out. And that was the end of the creature. Then everybody was required to sign basically an NDE, a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, I should say, not NDE, NDA, and claimed to never, ever, ever, ever breathe a word of it until about 2015 or 2016. One of the former team members said, "The hell with this, screw it, I'm going to talk about it." And he did to as a matter of fact, it was a well-known, recently deceased UFO researcher that found out about it. Then it made the rounds. There's a number of YouTube videos up about that, the Giant of Kandahar. One of the guys that talked about it is a former Navy SEAL his moniker on his YouTube channel is Mr. Ballon. Okay.
Yeah, see, that's where I heard the story first.
Right.
Now, he hasn't really taken a firm position on either side. I mean, let's face it, this is a crazy story.
Absolutely.
But hey, I'll tell you, I personally think there are, and I hesitate to say hominids, animals, whatever, Sasquatch, that are in fact running in the hills and the woods. Some of those stories, if you go back and do a little research on it, which I have, some of them show these creatures to be quite violent, very, very aggressive if they feel like they're being cornered, which I certainly can understand that to an extent.
Oh, and they're territorial, according to some stories, too.
Yeah, but the one thing I don't understand is how we've never ended up with a carcass, a body.
I believe, and Don, this has always been my statement with that one. I think they bury their dead. And
Very well
why.
could. Very well could.
I think that they're intelligent, and just like mammals of higher intelligence, they have connections to their dead. Like elephants, you know how elephants are. They'll go back and revisit the dead because they have graveyards. They're not buried because they're not capable of doing it. On the other hand, anything that's Homo sapien based is capable of using tools and burying.
Thumbs, right there.
What has opposing thumbs and loves to throw them up? This guy.
Boy, I had a feeling that was going a different direction. But you were a good boy tonight.
Yeah.
You were a good boy tonight. I'm proud of you.
I behaved myself, Commander.
Well, I'm not sure if I can believe that, but how surprising would it be if this is verified beyond what we know? I don't find it that surprising. I don't find it surprising that there is mysteries that we are not complete masters of our realm.
Hey, I have read recently, and I have seen, of course, now it's on the internet. It's got to be true, right?
Absolutely. We're on the internet. We're true.
That there may even have been sightings of surviving megalodons. Megalodons, the giant sharks that supposedly went extinct, 2 million years ago, something like that?
And their teeth occasionally show up.
And their teeth, occasionally show up. I don't know. It's a very weird thing, but it's like the UFO UAP thing, guys. It's under a blanket of security, and it's top secret. You're not allowed to talk about it. You can't disclose it. My question, especially in light of this hominid, why?
Well, if you look at the particular region that you zone in up, if you were going to survive and be this type of creature, this kind of being, this kind of entity, that's probably about the only place in the world that you could get away with it. And we think because we're civilized and we have technology and we've mastered a lot of different services that we have a superior setup as opposed to other parts of the world. I think that there's a lot that can be learned and a lot of incredible discovery in places that we take for granted or we think are beneath us. So,
I had a cousin in 67, went to Vietnam. He was a Marine. He was in the 3rd Marine Division. They were based up around, it's above Da Nang, called Marble Mountain. Okay. And after he got back, and it was just before I left, he got back and we were talking, and he told me about creatures there called rock apes. Are you familiar with rock apes?
Yep, I've heard this. I've heard many stories about that particular part of the world. And I believe there's a monkey mountain in that part of the world, if I'm correct, as well.
Right.
That has similar types of stories that go along with it.
These things are allegedly about the size of roughly of human beings, and they're not very nice either. The rock ape came from the fact that, if you got into their territory, they would attack. And there were even, stories of firefights breaking out between troops and I don't know, what do you call them, animals? What the hell?
Yeah.
It's very weird. So, yeah. And here in the States, now, hell, in my state of Pennsylvania, everybody thinks Pennsylvania, it's been there since the beginning of the nation. All right. It's considered totally civilized. Well, until you go to Philadelphia, but it's totally civilized.
So we need to bring up W.C. Fields. I'd rather be buried here than in Philadelphia on his tombstone. Okay.
Yeah.
Since you're a lover of history, I wanted to throw that out.
Yeah. Fields had it wired, didn't he? But in Somerset County, which was not too far from where I'm from, in Blair County, in the time that John Keel was conducting his West Virginia investigations, the Mothman, all these cryptid creatures that were popping up, in Somerset County, they were being overrun by the same damned thing, allegedly. Giant birds seen flying around.
Right.
Bigfoot type creatures in farmers' back fields. UFOs. Weird small birds running on the ground. And then it seemed to just dissipate. It would happen for a while like a UFO flap, and then suddenly nothing. So, this is all part of the overall UFO mystery. And I don't know, man. It's like something opened up a dimensional doorway. Do you guys think that's possible, conceivable?
Yeah. Once you get into, even though there's an argument against string theory that it's the only theory that they have that could never be tested, but the chance that there are alternate worlds has always been in there for potentiality. And you get into the fact that what if there is an alternate version of Earth where the Pleistocene period never ended?
Right. Sure.
What about that? When that the asteroids never struck the Earth? What if that exists? What if the version of evolution never took place and lizards or chickens, however if you want to connect birds and lizards from dinosaurs, there are those that believe that, Bacher, all those guys, maybe they evolved into intelligent life, and that's where we get the lizard alien. And they're not aliens at all. They're just from alternate versions of this single planet, and they can travel from one place to the other through portals. Through
windows. Well, That's certainly possible. Now, something else I just read from a biotechnical corporation. They're currently in the process of cloning DNA and genes from mammoths, mastodons, to bring them back into existence.
Right.
Not only mammoths, but other creatures. Is that a good idea?
What could go wrong?
Hey, I know.
We have a really good track record in doing these kinds of things. I don't know why you can't turn that frown upside down. Listen,
Look, hey, I'll eat the first mammoth steak if they do it.
you want those giant ribs like Fred Flintstone.
Fred Flintstone, you damn right I do.
So
Bonnie?
this past weekend, I was in the good company of the Greater New England UFO Conference, Susan Spooler's annual get-together. And a lot of credit goes to her because she has kept that conference going in New England. Even through COVID times, she figured out ways to keep it going and legal and safe and all the other things that had to happen. And there was a number of really great presentations on Bigfoot, on the cryptid phenomenon this past weekend. And I enjoyed hearing a lot of folks. It was Old Home Week in many respects, great groups of people that were there. It was good to see a lot of folks. But the name Stan Gordon comes up, and Stan's a good friend. I speak with Stan probably every 3-4 months, especially if I'm driving through Pennsylvania. I always try to get a heads up with him, and he tells me where the activity is, because a couple stretches of road there have UFO activity that rivals out in the Southwest for reported activity. And he theorized a lot of interesting combinations of why Bigfoot or Bigfoot type reports surround UFO type activity. He never really has taken a stance. He just tries to gather the factual information, the reports, the stuff that people experience. And it happens a lot. And a lot of the cryptid investigators, a lot of them will shy away from having any discussion with it. We always bring this up, Don. I'm sorry for your audience if they get tired of hearing me saying, but the interconnectivity of all of this doesn't really surprise me at this point. Paul Eno was another one that used to talk about how there would be poltergeist type activities around reports of lights, UFO activities, cryptids, other strange phenomena, and they all happen around the same areas. And often there would be government involvement in those areas as well. There would be, unexplained or surprise exercise activity or around installations that these things happen. So none of it I find surprising. I in fact, I would be almost dismayed at this point that we didn't acknowledge that there is connections to it. And everything from the physics that you were talking about, Jerry, to just the happenstance that there is these types of events generate this kind of sighting and experience. Interesting thing that was brought up, and I want to bring it back to you this weekend. A couple of the speakers talked about this, and I've seen it. UFO people don't want to talk about Bigfoot. Bigfoot people don't want to talk about UAPs. And those ghost chasers and poltergeist people, well, you stay over in your own category. And I find it funny that in the world and in the community, in the experience of what we talk about, especially on KGRAdb, that people stovepipe in the area. Now, I understand what you're interested in. I mean, if you're driven by the ET and the possible aliens and other worlds, I understand that. But not to be able to see tie-ins, not to be able to put. Anytime you stovepipe, it always leads to disasters. And Don, I think I know Jerry has seen it because he's been in that spot when military operations are stovepipe, when the whole unit doesn't know what's going on, or you run off. Well, that just spells success with a big, big SUCK in it every single time. Agree?
Yeah.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck, because I have a secret. I'm not interested in that. I'm going to go out and fly my airplane, and I don't care if there's no fuel, there's no bombs, if the people aren't there to fix it, to turn it around. All I care about is showing up like I am sitting tonight, sitting in my F-18 off to Happy Land. So what do you think? Is there a reason in your minds, in your experiences, in your travels, why many folks in particular areas of the things that we talk about, paranormal might not be the right word for it, why there is such resistance to discuss the.
I'll tell you what I think it is. It's real simple. Green-eyed jealousy.
Or money.
And that, yeah. Green-eyed jealousy, money, sure. Look, I've always been willing to take a look at some of these other aspects. Ergo, me talking about the Book of Enoch tonight.
Right. Or a couple of your novels. I mean, you mix some pretty interesting. You have blended some pretty interesting genres into very effective storytelling.
Oh, thank you.
And if I'm not going too deep into your writings, I found it that you were trying to put a little subliminal message in there that, unchecked government, the exploitation of anything will be turned into a weapon given the opportunity with, unchecked. There's a lot of it there. And I think we're our own worst enemy.
Well, we are. And look, right now, if you get right down to it, you were talking earlier about the depleted national reserves of oil. I don't think the majority of the public, as a matter of fact, I'm positive the majority of the American public don't have a clue what a precarious position we are in right now. It is truly a precarious, usually we don't drift off into political land, but hey, how can you talk about this topic and subject without taking a look at the politics that surround it?
Well,
it's
everything
impossible.
has been politicized. That's the problem that the times that we're living in. Everything is weaponized. Everything is politicized. You can't take a stance and just have a stance. You can't make a statement without someone trying to figure out you're on the wrong team, you're in the wrong tribe, you're in the wrong part of the map, whatever. And that, for a very small select group that I tend to think self-appointed, finds a very useful tool for us to be bickering and not paying attention to what they're doing.
Well, I was doing a little research the other day. Recently, David Grouch appeared on the Joe Rogan program.
Yeah.
And Grouch was waxing poetically about all of these things that he's been made privy to. And one thing kept clicking in my mind. I'm not discounting what he's saying, not at all. But it's all second and third hand, which is not, hey, I've been in too many courtrooms in my lifetime. Okay, that just don't cut it. Second and third hand accounts just don't cut it. And that's where we're at now. But he also said that there are more than one group of visitors coming here. Well, gee, no kidding, no kidding. It's smoke and mirrors, dog and pony, and somebody is allowing this guy to go out. But yet, when he first surfaced, in the public eye, what was the one thing he was cautioned not to discuss in any detail at all?
The moon.
Roswell.
Oh, Roswell.
The most famous alleged UFO encounter in the last 80 years, Roswell. And he was cautioned that he could not talk about that. Does that make any bloody sense at all?
No.
If you want Roswell to continue to be the bright light that draws all us moths to it, and it's a diversion, you just add it extra wattage to that light. If something really occurred there and you want to keep it under wraps.
Well, guys, we got to go to break.
Oh, got to go to break.
Commander, keep that thought. We'll pick up there when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dark Matters Radio. Tonight, Commander Cobra, myself, and Mr. Gary Cassell. We'll be back.
The potty poopa.
So,
where'd Commander go?
It appears we have lost Commander Cobra temporarily.
Oh.
Taking Commander off the screen till he is back. Okay. Producer Chanel keeping us appraised. Well, Gary,
Thank you, Chanel.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving, buddy?
Yes, I did. I hope you did too.
Yeah, I was telling Chanel earlier, very low key, very quiet, very relaxing dinner. I've been dealing with some back problems, but other than that, it was real good. We cracked a bottle of sparkling wine to go with dinner, and that was real nice, real good.
Kids. You crazy,
I know it,
kids.
I know.
How was your Thanksgiving, Commander?
Well, to maintain familial bliss, I cooked the turkey and made the stuffing, which I've become somewhat gilded and noted for. And we brought it down to my mom and dad, who live outside Boston. But my oven is out of commission. It doesn't work. So I had to cook it a little bit earlier at a neighbor's house.
Oh, my God.
And get everything together. So, yes, it was three-dimensional chess. And I checkmated that turkey, baby. Another successful tea day in the books. And
well,
I got the roof on the barn extension. So getting the roof on the barn extension before the snow really starts to come, big time win for me.
That's outstanding. I noticed that there were some guys on Facebook this past week were very happy to show off their turkey loaf sea rations from the Army, talking about Army Thanksgiving.
Yeah, B-Rats too. I saw that too.
Yeah, they're missing it. I personally didn't miss those sea rations, but they were awful good when you had nothing else to eat, let me tell you.
Jerry, how are you on the MREs? You like them? Don't like them?
I looked. I had three favorites. I love the barbecued beans one.
Mm-hmm.
I like the spaghetti one, and I love the chicken a la king. They were like my favorites out in the field until my platoon sergeant had it, and he had the chicken a la king, and he got salmonella poisoning out in the field, and we had to medevac him back in. And we found him at the hospital, and he was like sick as a dog, dude. He was so sick in that hospital bag with IV in.
Poisoning a couple times.
He says,
very worse rides and surviving.
Who can I sue?
He got so excited to see us. He's like, "You guys found me," and I said, "It's pretty easy. You left a trail."
Oh, bada boom!
Yeah, who do you sue for that?
Yeah, I gotta say, it's pretty rare that I ever saw anybody get sick from eating MREs, unless they didn't finish it. You left it open and stuff like that. Then you could get yourself into trouble. It's an amazing meal. Hey, how many calories there, Doc? How many calories does each MRE meal?
3,000, 3,500, right in that area.
1,200 per MRE.
I thought it was close to 3,500 for some reason. I remember that.
So when you took all three, if you ate all three, you'd have 3,600 calories.
That was it. Yeah. See, that's where I got that number from. By the way, one of my favorite treats was the freeze dried peaches.
Oh yeah, all those.
It reminded me of astronaut ice cream.
Like major trade.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you ain't lived till you had sea ration pound.
I had them as a cadet a couple
I've
times
had that
because they were left over and they had something to feed us, and they were pretty miserable.
Well, we got a Hershey bar with a classic sea rat one time, and when I opened it, this was almost like petrified wood.
Yeah.
And it had wormholes in it. And the holes were so old, there was nothing left of the worms in there. It was just the holes. It was like
they left.
Hershey's.
They're not going to hang around. They went off to the next Hershey bar. But
it was still really good out in the field. I made a mistake one time and I'm the medic, and I should know better, because I was walking up and down the line, making sure everybody drank their water. Down an extra canteen with your meal. Down. But what I forgot was that I'm walking around doing this, and so I was burning up more of the water out of my body. So I became extremely, and I cannot emphasize enough how extremely constipated I got after that FTX, that I almost went to the hospital for it. It was so bad. And I was kicking myself in the ass like, you fucking idiot. You should know better and drink the extra water, because you're walking around when other people are sitting on their asses.
So from Roswell to extreme constipation, I think there's a tie in here, because Roswell appears to be one of the greatest constipation events in UAP/UFO circles.
Where do you stand on it? Because I absolutely 100% believe it happened. And I think you do too.
I'm very doubtful that the main event that they talk about occurred the way that they said that it occurred. There was a program going on at that time of launching high altitude balloons.
Yeah, the A-tip program, right? Or what do they call it?
I have to look up the name to get the exact.
Where they had the dummies, but the dummies didn't come into existence.
I'm not talking about the dummies. I'm talking about.
No, they had at that time, gentlemen, they had a program going on to do some snooping and pooping of the Soviet Union when they would have the bomb. They wanted to be able to detect the detonation.
Right, the test.
They had these high altitude balloons with microphones. I mean, hey, there was nothing secret about the equipment.
Well, I mean, it's very similar to what just occurred with the Chinese balloon in the past year.
But did you know that I discovered an actual firsthand witness proved that he was there? A fellow by the name of Tom Gonzalez, was a staff sergeant at the time, was in T Squadron, at the 508th or 9th bomb group. He actually, according to him, and I've got him I videotaped, I chased him down to Texas, went down, interviewed him. He saw 4 bodies. 3 were dead, according to him, and 1 was still living. That he claimed, this part I don't know, that he contacted him using telepathy. Gonzalez called them moon men, okay?
Right.
This is what he carved 4 little figures out of wood. I've got them. He gave them to me. 4 little figures of what he basically observed there. And according to him, it was a heck of a mess, that crash site. But hey, I wasn't there. I don't know. I wasn't even alive yet. So I don't know. But he swears by God it was the truth. So I don't know. It's hard to say. But I'll tell you what I don't believe. I don't believe John Keel tried to float the idea it might have been a Japanese Fugo balloon.
Right.
Okay. No way.
No.
No way that thing would have survived 2 years in the weather out in the desert. No.
Decker, the other thing that you also bring up, and in the past, there is other UFO, UAP activity reported in the Roswell area of much greater activity, much greater sightings, more people seeing it. And that always gets really short drift from a lot of research and discussion.
And why would the aliens be interested in Roswell?
Well, the 509th was there.
Yep.
That was the group that, Tibbetts group that brought Japanese to their knees during World War II via the atomic deliveries. So I've always been a huge fan of the Aztec incident, the Aztec UFO incident, because of the great work that was done in the absolute dedication that's gone on that research. But there's something about Roswell that just doesn't ring true to me. I don't know why. I can't get past it. I've been there a number of times, and it seems to me that it's been so commercialized or so sold as kind of an attraction that maybe that's the cover-up. The cover-up is to make you see this carnival atmosphere. It's hard for me to describe why I'm not so thrown on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that past at all. It became so commercialized. And hey, look, if you get right down to it, I've been to Roswell a number of times. What the hell do they have going on down there?
Some very interesting government activity.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we also have the proving grounds, the tests for rockets and the atomic age began in New Mexico. So there's got to be some sort of correlation to that.
Well, Alamogordo is where we first detonated, not too far from that.
Right.
Yeah.
So surely there's a connection there.
And they were doing a lot of R&D down there at that time. Radar and other things.
Radar, but also that's where the proving grounds where a lot of the early stuff that NASA was working on was at. Before there was a NASA, it was probably just the Air Force. So
or NACA.
I don't know.
NACA.
Right.
And we had those recovered German V2 rockets. We had to have someplace we could
that was
shoot
White
those
Sands.
off.
That's White Sands area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is actually gypsum, for those that are keeping track of. And on your geological bingo card, Commander Cobra said gypsum.
So here's the question. Before the end of December, all right, Christmas, good Lord, it's just around the corner. Are we going to have any more smoke and mirrors emanating from the government in regards to the UFO UAP? Now, these are probably things, Commander, we're going to talk about on Thursday. But what's your thought about that?
I think we're in such perilous times. When you look at all the different factors that are going on, global tensions, the hotspots, the actual hot engagement that's going on, possible other hostile activities, economic teetering that we see that we're on the brink of, celebrations near joyous when gasoline goes down 2 or 3 cents a gallon, and we treat it that we are the happy days are here again, because gasoline where I live in the world is now under $3.60 or $3.50 a gallon. Yes, Don, I'm still quite a ways away from what you're paying for the precious fluid in a place that produces the precious fluid. So one of two things is going to happen. This might be the time to release an interesting tidbit because of the distractions of holidays, shopping, travel, world crises. I think this is when we see most of the interesting truth come out. But I am going to be very surprised if anything of consequence comes out. I don't see it.
No, I don't either.
Closer to an election next year, maybe. I've seen a couple candidates that have put this in part of their platform, part of their program, why they should be elected, because they're there to search for truth. They tend to come from west of the Mississippi. They tend to be in areas where I think people probably talk about it a little bit more. But no, I'm not counting on anything of interest. I do find interesting, though, that the leader of the U.S. Senate has the time, with all the other things going on, to say we need to defund disclosure. We need to get that under control. We need to shut that down. That's unusual to me.
Well, look, the turtle has never been known.
He's minority leader, sir.
No, well, I'm talking about the turtle right now. The turtle has never been known for his forthright leadership. And Chuck Schumer is, well, I just have to say one thing. I would be very hesitant to ever buy a used car from Chuck.
I think it's a shorter list who you feel comfortable from Congress buying anything from.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Well, look, it's one of those things. We are teetering on the edge of an economic precipice without any peer in history. If this goes, and the way they've been printing money and throwing it around, I don't know about anybody else, but those are my tax dollars, your tax dollars, everybody else's tax dollars, and we don't have a say in the thing, do we?
No.
It's terrifying.
Well, the politicians tend to act like my ex-wife when it comes to money, that as long as you have checks, you're never broke. And that's how they treat money.
Well, because like your esteemed former spouse, it's somebody else's money.
Yep. OPM, other people's money.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Well, with that being said, I still can't get over this giant of Kandahar.
Now, Don, a little while back, and I forgot where we were talking. I think it was on UAP. You brought up I want to say like a biblical era king that was supposed to be a giant of size.
Gilgamesh. Yes.
Gilgamesh. How does that tie in, do you think, with this?
Well, Gilgamesh is described as having a human father, but an Anunnaki mother. He was a hybrid, okay, if you want to use current terminology. And his tomb was discovered right in the vicinity of Uruk, okay, which was his city 5,000 years ago. And when we invaded Iraq, the army, okay, apparently were already aware of this. They hadn't opened the tomb yet, but they took over that entire area. And then everything went totally black. Yeah, the Epic of Gilgamesh is basically considered to be the first literature, at least since civilization rearose from the flood, in history. So yeah, that's quite an interesting time period.
It seems to have almost a lovely lash up to this. I mean, not exactly right next door to the neighborhood, but a regional area that has a lot of this activity. Of course, cradle of civilization is this part of the world. Eden is...
Well, when you look at it, 6,000 years ago, suddenly, out of nothing, this civilization springs up. They already have astronomy, mathematics, medicine, agriculture, animal husbandry, okay? And this is something that mainstream academia never, ever was willing to address. How did this happen? Well, hey, I put on my cop hat and I said, well, obviously, these people had to be survivors of something and they're reestablishing their civilization. And when they were asked, where did this come from? They pointed up in the sky. They gave it to us. So, hey, I don't know. But those are those dirty, nasty little things that the mainstream never wants to address.
And also, because the minute you bring up Gilgamesh, always the flood story comes up. And of course, if you go back to the ancient book of Enoch, when they talk about it, they bring up the. And by the way, have either of you seen the movie, the story of Noah that had what's his name, Gladiator in it?
Russell Crowe.
Because they're talking about the Nephilim. What do they call them again?
Nephilim.
Nephilim in that movie, and it's in the story of the book of Enoch. They talk about them and how God smote them. Well, that's connected directly to Gilgamesh again because of his flood story.
Right.
So I think there's some sort of rhyme to and reason to the stories. They are connected. I think they all happened at the same time because flood myths are all over the planet. The legend of the flood.
then there are other inconvenient little items that they don't like to talk about. The city of Jericho is described as being in excess of 9,000 years old. And then there's Göbekli Tepe, okay, which goes back over 11,000 years ago. Now, those people didn't just spring into existence. They had to come from somewhere.
Right.
And that basically set history on its ear, okay, when Göbekli Tepe was discovered and realized what was sitting there under the ground. It's true. We truly don't know what we don't know. It's a mystery.
And yet there's no curiosity or there's no intellectual playfulness to at least try to see the patterns or the to come up with theories to discuss how these things just sprouted up. Now, when we look at Central and South America, sprawling civilizations there without benefit of the wheel.
And the megalithic buildings there.
Correct. The Groove Ware people of Northern Europe, the British Isles, and their megalithic structures. And almost all of them have some connection to the pointing to up, astronomy, and yet there's no connection, or there's no. How could you possibly have this sprouting in so many far-flung areas with the kind of ages that we come up with?
Well, we saw it was plain to see, okay, and I read a lot of the reviews about Graham Hancock's seminal series on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse. Mainstream science and archaeology literally went at that guy with hammer and tongs, people screaming, he's got to be censored. Okay, censored. That's the most dangerous thing on for the audience ever to see.
Right.
And what did Hancock do except ask some questions, point out inconsistencies and discoveries which there was no logical explanation for, and they tried to literally crucify the man. Now, even if I disagreed with Hancock, which incidentally I do not, I would have gotten on his side just for the way they went at him for simply asking questions.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's child's play to the times that we live in now.
Yeah.
Child's play.
Yeah.
If anything, he was a test case.
Well, look, the Homo sapiens sapien, our species, has been around maybe going back at least close to 1 million years. If that's even close to being true, look at how far we have progressed from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the early 19th century, around 1800, the steam engine, what have you, which really was the launch, okay? And then things started zipping along, things like producing electrical current, the telegraph system, and so on and so forth. But that was what? A little over 200 and, about 200, roughly 25 years, not quite. If human beings have been around, let's say 500,000 years, what might they have accomplished then that now we have absolutely no record of?
Sure.
There have been a number of catastrophic Earth events that would have wiped out civilization. One of them being, of course, the flood, roughly 12,000 years ago. What the hell happened before that? Are you familiar with the Adam and Eve story by a guy by the name of Chan Thomas?
I think we've talked about this once before.
Right.
You've never talked with me about it. I didn't. This is new.
Well, the Adam and Eve story, mark it down, look it up on the internet, put it in your search engine. Back in about 64, 65, this guy wrote a book, The Adam and Eve Story, which was about Earth catastrophes, all right? Basically the magnetic field reversing, tectonic plate movement, basically things that could really screw up your weekend, all right? The book was published. Now, when I wrote my novel, I had to send a copy back to the Congressional Library, all right? Did you know you had to do that?
No.
Yeah. Well, they got to have it on record. They want to see what the hell you're writing. This guy wrote this book. The CIA immediately came in, confiscated all the copies it could find, and classified the book. Boom.
And you didn't think they were book lovers?
Yes. And guess what? They released a version of it. There were a number of people that knew about that, filed Freedom of Information Act requests. The book was about 200 and, I forget now, 30, 40 pages. They released somewhere between 75 and 80 pages of the book. And then later, in the 90s, the book was re-released but rewritten. Now, what the hell were they trying to hide? The CIA, for God's sake. Okay? The guy that wrote, and he was a geologist back in the 50s, wrote about that also, about the Earth crustal shift. Are you familiar with that theory?
Yep. Every 50,000 years, we basically redo the surface of the planet.
Right. And if there are any civilizations around, say goodnight, Irene, because she's all over. But he wrote that book, and it wasn't classified, but this guy's book was. Now, I never understood that, but hey, those guys walk in some strange places. They were real popular in Vietnam, by the way.
Oh, spooks?
Oh, yeah. The CIA guys, they were real popular.
So, Don, what do you think the outcome of the book was? The version that's out. Do you think that the declassified ones that you can find online are real?
It's gonna hit. Well, according to his theory, it's gonna hit again. And as a matter of fact, it's overdue. And hey, the magnetic north has been changing for years.
Yeah, it's moved quite a bit in the last 25, 30 years.
Yeah, they've got to keep updating the GPS systems. They've got to keep.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you know about it with all your flying you do.
Yep.
How far has that drifted, Commander?
Let me look it up. I don't want to give you the false number, but it's pretty interesting. Give me a second.
Yeah, this is something that you don't want to have crap out on you when you're up there 25,000.
So it says here, magnetic North Pole moved 50 miles last year.
Damn. Now, is anybody suggesting what that ultimately is going to mean?
Well, if there's some evidence of pole swapping occurring. And with it, a lot of cataclysm comes with that.
Right.
And quite honestly, we do not really greatly appreciate what our magnetic field means to a lot of the world around us, especially nature. A lot of creatures use magnetic pole on the magnetic field to navigate, to know where they're at, orient themselves. There's a lot of implication of the weather impact that it would have. That it's going to change a lot of weather formation, how it occurs, and why why would it move. But the declination is pretty interesting, and it has quite a bit of activity.
Well, now you folks up in the Northeast are getting hit with some hard weather right now, right?
Nothing too bad. Our late fall, early winters are wetter now. I expect that we'll probably see snow for Christmas. This El Nino that we're going to go through usually means a wetter winter, unfortunately. I would prefer to see the dry snow.
We're supposed to get hit here in California with some real wet weather. This is the prognosis anyway.
Are you allowed to put buckets out in California to collect the water? I'm sorry, I had to take that shot. I was only below the hard deck or the South Pole for just a couple seconds.
You guys are in the right area, because another friend of mine that likes to talk about the sciences with me, my buddy Script Doctor, and we were talking about the fact that about every century we would have a mini ice age.
Right.
That was until the 20th century, and scientists were kind of baffled. For some reason, they were baffled by this. Like, what happened? Well, we know what happens. If you actually, climatologists will tell you what happened. It's called El Nino. Started in the 50s. I think it was 57? Which
Plus
is when we
had an increase in sun activity. I mean, we act like we.
Well, that's the thing, is scientists like to treat the sun like the sun is their bitch,
or
when actually the sun is a woman and will do what it wants. And this one century it decided, you know what? I'm going to warm up instead of cool down, just to show you not to fuck with me. And that's why our sun scares the shit out of me.
Well, I mean, it's just to keep you in perspective. Medieval times, Europe was warmer than it's ever been in our lifetimes.
I was giving my wife a small lesson, several days ago on the history of alcohol in Europe. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard this. You're probably familiar with it. But around 536 AD was one of the worst times in all of recorded history. Do you guys know about that?
Refresh my memory.
Okay. There were a series of things that happened that turned the basic climate of the planet upside down. There were cases of extreme volcanism that was happening. There might have been an astronomical impact, but basically they ended up with no growing season at all.
Yes.
Mass famine hit not only in Europe, but all around the globe.
Right.
China was another place that got hit particularly hard. It lasted for 2 or 3 years. The plague with the cold weather, the no growing season, the rats, the fleas, they ended up with plague. It was a bad time to be around. Well, something similar happened, not at that great range, but around 1816.
Right.
Which they called the year without a summer. Okay, the same thing, volcanism. I think it was Krakatoa.
Yep.
That popped.
That's correct.
If
There's
I'm not
reports here in New England of 4th of July going over to the pond and throwing rocks to break the ice at the pond to celebrate.
Right. So that was a bad year. But, okay, to get back to my original point, Europe had always been a pretty good place to grow grapes for wine. England had a thriving wine industry. France, of course. Germany, all right, German wines. And, of course, there was Spain and Italy and what have you. Well, with that 536 situation, 536 AD, they couldn't grow grapes. The grapes were not growing. They were sour. They were tiny. So somebody had the idea, hey, why don't we take hops and start making beer, which they ended up doing. And a lot of people's taste changed, went from wine to beer. That's where beer got a really big push. Now, there's always been beer. Matter of fact, the Egyptians were making beer before they were making bread. I don't know how many people realize that.
Right.
But beer was there before bread was. But
Well, I'm going to add to this catalog of adult beverages, since I'm imbibing just slightly out here on the East Coast with a little single malt Irish whiskey, just to keep in the proper pacing.
Did you feel you needed that to come on this show, Commander?
No, I felt it break. It was I should break the glass and go down and have a glass. But the word spirits comes from the fact that many monasteries, which were driven because of these different cataclysms and, of course, the rise of various basically Christian religions, when they would fast for spiritual enlightenment. No consumption of food. It also helped when you didn't have food to help people fast, but you could drink water. Well, then it was shown that if you threw in parts of things like barley or other of the wheats, which tend to do well in cold climates, that you can harvest something out of, that they were getting a nutritional benefit. They could fast longer, and they would have better spiritual experiences. So that's why you find a lot of famous liqueurs come from monasteries. Some of the earliest recorded beers, as we know them, come from monasteries. And that's where the word spirits comes from. That you got spiritual and you drank these fluids, especially on the empty stomach.
I was aware of that. That's cool.
I got a story to tell you real quickly. My wife's best girlfriend.
Jerry, I just think I got the brush up. I just brought in the whole Holy Church here, and I got the brush up.
Well, I'm going to tell you a story about that. So she was teaching English to a lot of immigrants that came into the country. Okay. And she had some folk come in from Poland that moved over here. And to thank her, okay, for her, and she's very, very meticulous and very conscientious, they presented her with a bottle of basically, it was a brandy, a plum brandy called Slivovitz. And she took it home, opened it up, had a sip, and said, no, can't do that. So she ended up giving it to my wife and said, here, give this to Dawn. Well, I looked at it, and I still have the bottle. It's quite a colorful thing. But I looked at it, and the proof was like 140 proof. Okay.
You can run the car on that in tough times out there in California.
Yes, you could.
And that seems very green to me. Jerry, wouldn't you think that's very green?
I think it's very green. And by the way, just let you know, where my girlfriend used to live, she lived in Croatia. She said that's basically Slivovitz is everybody makes it there.
Right. It's their version of schnapps.
Yeah. It's like you can't throw a cat 5 feet without hitting a still that makes Slivovitz.
I love Croatia, by the way.
I took a sip out of a shot glass of that, and it caused my entire head to go numb. Honest to God. I couldn't believe that.
Like actually numb?
Yes.
That's not good. That's not good. You shouldn't have that. It's not part of the inebriation process. That's more like a stroke, for God's sake.
So, Decker, where is this said liquid? Has it been consumed? Yeah. Kept the bottle for memory's sake?
No, I had somebody buy me from local a bottle of Slivovitz, but it was a pale imitation. I poured it in the old bottle, but it was a pale imitation. 140 proof. Unless you're going to Everclear, I don't think you can get anything like that.
I recently just read I think it's a tequila, 170 something proof. I think it's at the top of the chart. Isn't it like 170 is where you top out on the proof chart?
Yep.
What do we do to ourselves? That's the question. Oh my God. Oh. Well, should we get back to UFOs? So what do you think the big topic will be on Thursday, Commander?
I think we're going to probably work around some of this legislation, some of these kinds of announcements. And if I remember what Martin sent me, there was an announcement that had come out when we were doing some of our pre-show prep. We've been sending some emails back and forth to each other. I showed you some things that I caught my interest.
Well, I hate to keep saying it, but I foretold all that in the paper I wrote.
Absolutely. And what is the status of the paper? Has it been published?
I've sent it out. Now, KGRA is basically, and I've been waiting to hear, they've been kicking around some ideas on how to present this en masse on the network.
Right.
And hey, I'm just currently a mushroom. I'm in the dark, being fed copious
Step on the
amounts.
Slavovic, apparently.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So there you go. Gary, what the hell are you looking at?
I'm looking at something. I didn't want to know if you wanted to be talking about it, but you're in my group, so I launch our crowdfunding campaign tomorrow for my book, because we're going to be doing your book too, Person of Interest, as a graphic novel, and so I'm kind of stoked that my buddy Shinatsky, he's been putting everything together for the launch tomorrow, and I just got a notification from him on the trailer, which will be available tomorrow.
Did you ever play that through your reader?
Your book? Yeah,
yes.
Person of Interest? Hell yeah, and that's why I agree. It's the next thing that, it'll be either the very next or the third thing that we do.
Okay. So
because I actually have another book that's almost done. And I'm thinking maybe I should make that the second book and get it out of the way. And then by the time we get to the third book, we'll convert your story into in the format of a comic script, which is, it's really weird. They're just like movie scripts, except for every action, there's a panel.
Right.
And you have to say the number, and you try not to go over 6 panels a page. But Person of Interest is going to be the next one. I still want to push for doing Troll, because I think that's going to be a hell of a nice little trade paperback comic format graphic novel. And that'll be closer, probably when done, that'll be closer to like 48 pages. My guesstimation. And I'm pretty good at guessing how many pages it takes to tell a story, a given story. So that's, John, if you're curious, that's what I was actually looking at, because Shinatsky had sent me a message.
Don, do you have a favorite UFO, UAP, or in the genre of the phenomena that you would like to see put into a graphic novel?
I'll tell you. Now, you kind of caught me off guard there.
That's my job.
Yes. It would have to be the moon. It would have to be a lunar story, and it would be a combination of Ingo Swann's account that he detailed in Penetration.
Right.
And some other odds and ends, some of the photographs that I located from NASA sources that show some really odd things, which brings something else to mind, which is more on the subject that what we've been talking about earlier tonight. You guys all know Seth Shostak, right? Chief scientist for SETI, the SETI program.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Shostak recently was poo-pooing the entire David Grouch congressional testimony, doing the same old tired, skeptical, where's the proof? And I got to tell you, I read that and I got a little irritated about that. What is it with these guys? Here's a guy that is part of a program that goes back to 1957, 58, 59 with Frank Drake. Okay, searching the sky for radio signals. How many millions have they now spent in all that period of time? And how many damn radio signals have they detected that are truly not terrestrial?
Well, we'll never know the answer to that.
Maybe 2 or 3 that never repeated themselves. Everybody's aware of the WOW signal back in the 70s, right?
Yep.
The WOW signal was a strange thing, but it was never repeated. But they've been searching the sky quadrant by quadrant for decades and nothing. Don't you think that should tell them something? But yet the UFO UAP thing, all right, has been ongoing without a stop since at least the Second World War. But they deny that it's there. I don't get it.
Well, now that you're on this subject, any thoughts to this laser beam signal that we received from 10 million miles away?
I've not heard anything about this. What is this?
I'll have to pull it up here for a second.
10 million miles? That's not very far.
Yeah, I know what I believe they're referring to as light years. A laser beam from over 10 million miles away has just struck the Earth. But unlike the movie Independence Day, the laser is perfectly harmless, and NASA says aliens aren't to blame.
How can they just say that? How can they say that?
Listen. If you guys are going to be closed-minded, I can't do my job. The laser was beamed towards Earth by NASA's Psyche spacecraft, which is currently over 10 million miles, 16 million kilometers away from the Earth. To put it in perspective, that's 40 times further than the moon. NASA hopes to have the new technology that could one day allow astronauts on future missions to video call Earth from as far away as Mars. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
There'd be a delay, wouldn't there?
Oh, yeah, there would be a delay. Probably not as bad as what we're experiencing here on our network.
Well, radio signals are the speed of light anyway.
Correct. Same with laser.
And
you're just using a laser.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're using the laser beam to transmit the information, the energy.
I'm holding out for subspace.
I'm floored by the fact that they said it can't be aliens. How would they know that?
Well, in the case of the laser beam, they know it's not alien because it was our spacecraft. It was a deep spacecraft that fired the signal back.
Oh,
okay.
You
that's
left
how they
that
say
out.
Complete assurity on there. And I bring that up because of how that whole thing was played out. It's not it wasn't even done in a playful manner. It was done as it was an entrapment. It was we have a secret. We know all the answers. Trust us, trust the science, whatever other slogans we want to use on that. If SETI has uncovered things, I'm not convinced that anybody's going to run around and
they're not going to share the information with us for sure.
I just don't see it. And I'm jaded. I hopefully give in to my prejudices that my government is not being forthright with me.
Okay, well, I was just informed that we have about 2 minutes left in the show. So, guys, any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
I'm still curious, and I wanted to ask about this. What have we heard about those, that alien body that was studied, researched, x-rays were made, MRI, all that stuff?
Oh, down in Mexico.
Yeah, down in old Mexico. What happened with that?
Well, I heard that there was some kind of physical work being done on it, but like many things, it's dropped out of the news cycle.
I know. I can't find anything.
No, there's not much to find.
I assumed it was bullshit. It looked fake.
Well, it was definitely on the other side of the spectrum. I mean, it's a really nice way that you tied that in. We were talking about 12 to 14 foot humanoid type beings. This thing looks like something that you could tuck.
Very diminutive.
Yep.
But it's still a good idea if there are 12 or 14 foot tall hostile aliens. Apparently, bullets still work.
Yes, there's always that, Don, that you can fall back that physics, kinetics.
Yes, it certainly appears.
And now we'll close with Dark Matters Radio saying why the discussion of the 45 versus the 9mm when you encounter the 12 to 14 foot humanoid living in the mountains of Afghanistan.
Well, I'm still going with a 30 caliber rifle in that case. Guys, that's it tonight. Thank you both so much. Stick around, fellows. And we will be back again next Monday. So in the meantime, keep your eyes pointed up and have a great week.